Picture this. Two guys, same age, same year, same month, open an investment account for the very first time. One is in Columbus, Ohio. He's got a steady job, decent income, and a brand new F-150 sitting in his driveway with 48 months of payments left on it. He puts $200 into his brokerage account, feels pretty good about himself, and then doesn't touch it again for 3 months because life got expensive. The other guy is in Chengdu, China. Same age. He doesn't own a car. He takes the metro. He lives with his parents until he's 30, not because he failed, but because that's just what you do. And every single month, without thinking about it, without negotiating with himself, without any internal debate, he moves 35% of his paycheck into savings. 10 years later, one of them is wondering why his net worth hasn't moved. The other one is wondering which apartment building to buy. This is not a story about intelligence. It's not about opportunity or luck or which country has the better economy. It's about one thing and one thing only: the financial habits that each country quietly installed into its people before they were old enough to question them. And right now, in 2026, those habits are playing out at a national scale in a way that most Americans are completely unprepared for. My name is Nick, and today we're going to talk about something that nobody in the financial media wants to say out loud. There is an investment war happening right now between the United States and China. Not the kind with aircraft carriers and diplomatic summits. The quiet kind. The kind that plays out in savings rates and debt levels and compound interest calculators, and by almost every measure that actually determines long-term financial power, China is winning it. The personal savings rate in the United States right now sits at approximately 3.5%. Meanwhile, the household savings rate in China sits somewhere between 30 and 45%. Let that gap land for a second. Americans save 3.5 cents of every dollar. Chinese households save somewhere between 30 and 45 cents of every dollar. In the 1970s and 80s, Americans were saving closer to 10 to 12% of their income. As Americans got richer, they saved less. Here's a concept that behavioral economists call the consumption ratchet. Once you upgrade your lifestyle, it is almost psychologically impossible to downgrade it. You get the bigger apartment, and suddenly the old one feels unlivable. China's emerging middle class is starting to ride this same ratchet. But here's the critical difference. They are starting from a cultural baseline where frugality isn't a sacrifice. It's a point of pride. There's a phrase in Mandarin, qi ku, which literally translates to eating bitterness. It describes the ability to endure hardship, to delay gratification, to push through discomfort in service of a longer-term goal. When an American household has extra money, the most common destination is consumption. A study from the Federal Reserve found that when Americans receive unexpected income, somewhere between 50 and 80% of it gets spent within 90 days. Chinese households have one of the highest rates of real estate ownership relative to income in the world. The cultural pressure to own rather than rent, to invest rather than consume, is baked into the social fabric. When you save 35% of your income and direct it into assets, you are building a balance sheet. When you spend 96.5 cents of every dollar, you are building a lifestyle. Two households. Both earn $80,000 a year. Household A saves 4% of their income. That's $3,200 a year. Household B saves 30% of their income. That's $24,000 a year. After 10 years, Household A has approximately $49,000. Household B has approximately $368,000. After 20 years, Household A has roughly $155,000. Household B has approximately $1.37 million. After 20 years, Household B's money is generating $109,000 a year in investment returns alone. Their money now earns more than most Americans make at their jobs. America's social safety net is getting thinner, not thicker. Social Security faces long-term funding questions. The structural argument for why Americans don't need to save as much is getting weaker every year. And yet the savings rate keeps dropping. Let's talk about debt. Total household debt in the United States is currently sitting at approximately $18 trillion. The average American household carries roughly $104,000 in total debt. The average American credit card balance is around $6,500 at an average interest rate of somewhere above 20%. 1 in 5 American households is paying over $1,000 a month on credit card interest alone, not principal. Interest. The majority of Chinese household debt is mortgage debt. Debt taken on to acquire an asset that historically appreciates. American household debt is increasingly consumption debt. Debt taken on to acquire things that depreciate the moment you own them. Every dollar you send to a bank in interest is a dollar that cannot compound in your favor. The decisions that are driving this gap are not big, dramatic choices. They are the accumulation of thousands of small, ordinary, completely unremarkable decisions made every single day. While Americans are making those thousand small decisions that feel fine, households on the other side of the planet are making a different set of small decisions. Pack lunch instead of buying it. Take the metro instead of financing a truck. Live with family a few more years instead of paying Manhattan rent at 25. Individually, each of these decisions looks like a small sacrifice. Collectively, over a decade, they produce a balance sheet that looks like a completely different life. This is the investment war nobody told you about. It is not fought with tariffs or technology policy. The scoreboard is not the Dow Jones or the Shanghai Composite. The scoreboard is the net worth statement of the average household in each country 20 years from now. The average American is not losing this war because they are lazy or stupid or undisciplined. They are losing it because every single institution around them is specifically engineered to make consumption feel like the rational choice. Nobody sends you a notification that says, "Hey, you just hit $50,000 in investments." But you will absolutely get a notification from your car app reminding you that your lease is up. The system is not neutral. And knowing that the system is not neutral is the beginning of the only real defense against it. The American savings rate is 3.5%. If you are saving 3.5% of your income, you are average, and average means retiring at 75 if you are lucky. What if you saved 10%? A household earning $80,000, saving 10%, and investing consistently over 30 years ends up with approximately $1.1 million. What if you saved 20%? Over the same 30 years, same income, same market, you end up with approximately $2.4 million. At a 4% withdrawal rate, $2.4 million generates $96,000 a year in retirement income, nearly your full working salary. Without the job, the average new truck payment in 2026 is somewhere north of $800 a month. That is $9,600 a year. Invested instead of spent, over 30 years at 8%. That single decision is worth approximately $1.17 million. The truck is not just a truck. It is the physical embodiment of which side of this war you are choosing to be on. The reason China is winning this investment war is not because Chinese people are smarter or more disciplined or somehow superior as human beings. They are just operating inside a cultural framework that points their default behaviors toward accumulation instead of consumption. The default in American culture is Spend first and save what remains. The default in Chinese culture is save first and spend what remains. Automate the savings transfer the day your paycheck lands, before the money touches your checking account, before it becomes mentally available for spending. Move it into investments first, and build your life around what remains. That one structural change does more for your financial future than almost any other decision you could make. The war is real. The math is real. The gap is widening every year. The only question is which side of it you want to be on.